The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps has warned they would retaliate beyond the Middle East and deprive Washington and its allies of oil and gas if the United States crossed what it called red lines. There is so much to dissect with our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, and Kasra Naji from BBC Persian. Kasra, really good to have you with us. Thank you for coming down and joining us. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. Intense pressure from President Trump now. How does Iran tend to react to threats like this?
We will have to wait and see. This whole civilization is going to die. It's pretty sort of dramatic, this. And obviously, a lot of Iranians are very concerned that what might happen tonight after this deadline is over, praying that there will be some kind of a deal beforehand. There are signs that things might be moving in that direction. There are Iranian ambassador in Islamabad has been tweeting positively, saying that these talks are at a critical and sensitive stage, as he puts it. So there are diplomatic efforts by the Pakistanis to mediate, and others, I must say. But for the moment, there seems to be something moving. Maybe, hopefully, something will come out. And in fact, what President Trump is saying is basically he's hoping that something will, in fact, happen on the diplomatic front in the next few hours before the 8 o'clock deadline that he has set.
Lise, your thoughts on this comment, a whole civilization will die tonight, and also the fact that he keeps talking, President Trump, about what he calls a complete and total regime change, which is not the case in Iran.
President Trump keeps ramping up the rhetoric. It's seeming to confirm that he has this idea that if he scares Iran enough in its leadership, if the threats get louder and louder, that Iran will eventually buckle. He doesn't seem to have anyone around him, which makes it clear that Iran will not buckle under these threats. It's watching this as the world is shocked by some of his statements, which, if at the very least, they're violations of international humanitarian law, and if carried out, are possible war crimes. Those more experienced negotiators would say that if he really did want to make progress in negotiations, if he was really serious about it, he would quietly move away military assets away from the region to send a signal to Iran that he wants serious negotiations and that he's not really bent on escalation and using this all as a subterfuge, as he did in June 2025 and as he did in February. There are other ways that President Trump could act as the US President and Commander-in-Chief to get Iran to change its behavior, to get Iran to try to show flexibility on its side. But by using the language of surrender and by giving documents the 15-point plan, which is akin to a surrender document, that's not the way to negotiate. Well, President Trump was asked about his deal yesterday. What did he say? I want a deal that's acceptable to me. That is never going to work as a negotiating stance. And it just underlines not just his fundamental misunderstanding of Iran, but never mind that he wrote a book, The Art of the Deal, that a fundamental misunderstanding of how to conduct negotiations.
I've just been sent a tweet from Mr. Pezeshkian, the president. More than 14 million proud Iranians have so far registered to sacrifice their lives to defend Iran. I too have been, am, and will remain devoted to giving my life for Iran. So, Kasra, that's the first bit of official response we've had, I think, to what President Trump has had to say.
Yes, and obviously the Iranians think that they have the upper hand in this war.
Because of the Strait of Hormuz.
Because of the Strait of Hormuz and the fact that they can inflict serious damage to the economies of the Persian Gulf countries in the south, the Arab countries in the south of the Persian Gulf, and that is up to a point is correct in a sense that for the moment the strait is closed, and Iran has still the capability to attack these targets, economic targets, anywhere they want in the region. And that is a serious threat, and I would have thought President Trump and his advisors are pretty much aware that if he starts a huge campaign of attack on critical infrastructure in Iran, then Iran does have the capability to attack critical infrastructure in the Gulf countries. And that is going to be uppermost in the minds of many people, not just in Iran, but in the Gulf countries tonight and today. That all this might sort of lead to a huge escalation that they hadn't foreseen.
This tweet from Mr. Pezeshkian doesn't suggest, though, that he's prepared in any way to compromise, and responding to President Trump's comment saying more than 14 million proud Iranians have so far registered to sacrifice their lives to defend Iran. I too have been, am and will remain devoted to giving my life for Iran. For a moment, just if we think about this deadline, Lise, there are some people saying, well, he has deflected before, President Trump, he's extended these deadlines, he's done it quite a few times since the conflict started, maybe that will happen again. But I know, Khazra, you've been hearing from people inside Iran. It's so desperate there. They're filling up water cans with water. They're worried about the infrastructure being attacked. Some people have tried to leave their homes, and even people going to pharmacies looking for iodine in case there's
I find this
leak.
Pretty sort of surreal, actually. When I read the report yesterday in one of the local newspapers in Bushehr in southern Iran, 10 kilometers away from this city of 300,000, is Iran's only nuclear power plant that was built by the Russians there on the shore of the Persian Gulf. And the report, the local newspaper report, was saying that the people are pharmacies are inundated by people rushing for iodine tablets because they fear that there may be some radioactive spread of radioactive radiation there should there be an attack on that power plant. And that power plant came on the fourth time. It was the fourth attack in the last 5 weeks in Iran. So, and the Russians, who have a lot of technicians and staff there, they the other day they pulled out 200 of them from the power plant, saying that the developments around the power plant and the fact that it was attacked 4 times in 4 or 5 weeks was, and in their words, aligned with the worst case scenario. So things are really sort of, scary, actually, in many respects. And people are obviously, not just in Bushehr and other places, are pretty scared, pretty stressed, pretty angry. And they don't know what they have done to deserve all this.
Lise, you get the sense, of course, that we are counting down to this deadline tonight. So what's happening? Because in terms of diplomacy in capitals all over the world, there will be this sense of urgency, particularly now we've had these comments from President Trump. But take us to Pakistan and what exactly we know, because that seems to be the best chance at the moment of something being agreed. Like, what's happening?
Yes, and if our viewers were with us for the past hour when we saw JD Vance at this press conference with Viktor Orban in Hungary, and he teases the journalist there. He takes out of his pocket on live television and says, "Oh, I've just received a text from Steve Witkoff," which of course is about what's happening in the negotiations. He says, "What time is it in America?" And of course, you could smile at that, but the fact of the matter is that, as we discussed before, the Iranians made it clear that the channel with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for them was burnt. They see it as a Trojan horse when they were involved in negotiations in June of 2025, in February of this year. Both times the diplomacy, the progress in the talks was shattered by American-backed Israeli attacks. So they see Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner as too close to Israel. So they had asked for JD Vance to become involved. And we hear this from Pakistan, from Pakistani officials who, as you say, have become the main channel of mediation. Egypt and Turkey are also involved, Oman to a certain extent, and that JD Vance is involved in these indirect talks. If so, as the clock ticks down, what is he doing in Hungary that doesn't seem to send a signal that he is as focused on what is happening and the need to make quick progress? But we do know, we heard that statement when the first reports came through of a proposal from the mediators for a 45-day ceasefire and then a move to a permanent end to the war between 10 to 15 days. Iran rejected it, doesn't want a ceasefire. It had a ceasefire last year. It just was a precursor to yet another war. But the reports which came out said that the Pakistanis had been up all night talking with JD Vance, talking with Kushner, talking to the Iranians, trying to push this forward. And we have to underline is we're not really completely clear what is the situation in Iran, where some of the negotiators we understand, including the Speaker of Parliament, including the President, Masoud Pezeshkian, who you just quoted from, that they've been given immunity from assassination, Foreign Minister Arakchi as well, so that they can continue the talks, but they can't meet in these kinds of circumstances because they could come under attack. And of course, their security doctrine is being made up as they go along now.
Lise, thank you for that. And Kasra, just before we let you go, of course, the strikes have continued, Iran striking as well as many strikes from the IDF today as well inside Iran. But what are you hearing from Saudi Arabia? Because there are some reports on Fars, the Iranian news agency, that a huge petrochemical plant has been hit there, which would be very significant.
Yes, that's what I saw on the internet, on Twitter actually, a few moments ago before I came here. There were reports that the biggest petrochemical complex in Saudi Arabia, it's one of the biggest in the world, has come under attack. Part of it is on fire. And that is basically what we expected, in a sense that Iranians had said that if our infrastructure comes under attack, we will attack other people's infrastructure in the region, America's, the US's allies in the region. But as I say, all this is escalation in a major way. But at the same time, I'm just seeing that, as JD Vance has been saying, that we feel confident we can get a response from Iranians by 8 tonight. So he is expecting, or he's hopeful, that the diplomatic efforts that Liz was talking about might come to some kind of a fruition. But we just have to wait and see really whether something decent is going to come out of this. It doesn't look like it.
Well, I have to just say we've just got a senior source close to Reuters. It's just come through in the past 10 seconds or so, saying there are no negotiations with the US. This is a senior Iranian source. No negotiations with the US, which wants Iran to surrender under pressure. So we will continue the discussions as this deadline looms.
Well, the Iranian ambassador in Islamabad was saying that there are negotiations and they're reaching a sensitive stage.
There's an off-ramp. If President Trump wants it, there's an off-ramp.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an off-ramp if he wants it. But Israel is telling him, don't go for a ceasefire. That was already on social media too.